One of the most significant aspects of the cultural development in Korea during the Yi or Choson dynasty was the deepening influence of new Confucianism in Korean society, culture, and state. As we know quite well, it was during the time when Korea was part of the Mongol Empire that new Confucianism, which had developed in China during the Song dynasty, was introduced to Korea and accepted by the Korean scholars, Confucian scholars. But it was during the Yi dynasty or the Choson dynasty that new Confucianism became the widely practiced ideology in this Confucian state in East Asia. That deepening influence of Confucianism could be attributed to the promotion of this Chinese ideology and the Chinese way of governing the state and society by the devoted new Confucian scholars like Tuye, who lived between 1501 and 1570. Just like the other Confucian scholars in Korea, Toye, whose name means the retreating creek, was quite determined to promote this ideology and to practice this ideology and to place the management of the Korean state and society on the basis of new Confucianism that was developed by Zhu Xi in China during the Song dynasty. Just like Zhu Xi, Tuye promoted the study of Li or the principles that could lead to the restoration and the consolidation of the good human nature. And just like Zhu Xi, Tuye also promoted the study of new Confucianist cosmology, because that study or the pursuit of that study could help us better understand the basic essence of the universe or cosmology. And there is a connection between the pursuit of good human nature and the study of the original essence and the basic elements in the cosmology. And that is a feature of new Confucianism, the study of principles that would lead to the sigilness or the restoration of good human nature, and the study of the universal essence that would lead to the better understanding of new Confucian cosmology. Just like Zhu Xi, Tuye in Korea promoted those Confucian texts and books, including the Analects of Confucius, Mencius, as well as the Great Learning, which was written by Zhu Xi himself. This is a quotation from the Great Learning that represented the basic idea and the basic approach to a society and the management of the state by a new Confucianists in East Asia, including China and Korea. Tuye and the other new Confucian scholars promoted these ideas. For example, according to Zhu Xi or the new Confucianists in Korea, there were ways for perfection and sigilness. And that way for perfection and sigilness is to rectify the mind by making one's intentions sincere, and to make one's intentions sincere by extending one's knowledge, and to extend one's knowledge by investigating the things. And such investigation would lead to the discovery of the Li or the principles and the better understanding of cosmology. So during the Yi dynasty, these ideas, which were the basic tenets of a new Confucianism, were enthusiastically promoted in Korea, and because of that promotion made by scholars like Tuye, Confucianism or New Confucianism gained a cultural position in Korea that was quite equivalent to a cultural hegemony. And this was the state ideology, and this was the ideology and instrument through which the state was governed that was more important than the other cultural institutions, including Buddhism, that had been quite popular in Korea before the Mongol control or before the founding of the Yi or Choson dynasty at the end of the 14th century. During the Yi or Choson dynasty, this previous Chinese influence, Buddhist influence, remained relevant in Korean society, but the Buddhist influence among the Korean people and in the Korean state declined dramatically as a result of the rise of New Confucianism as a cultural hegemony or as a predominant cultural institutions and practice in Korean society. But in comparison to New Confucianism practiced in China and Japan, New Confucianism also gained acceptance and influence in the Japanese archipelago, as we are going to discuss later on. Korea, as a new Confucian state, was more dogmatic than the other new Confucian states in East Asia. Once again, Japan and China. The Confucian scholars in Korea oftentimes functioned as political advisors to the rulers of Yi Dynasty. Tuiye was a political advisor to several monarchs of the Yi Dynasty in the 16th century. Instead of helping the monarchs in managing the state and society more effectively and in ways that could lead to the promotion of people's livelihood and economic development and political stability. These new Confucian scholars as political advisors paid too much attention to some scholars to things superficial, such as the rituals, ceremonies, and the ways that guided the behavior of the rulers or the handling of court matters. Such determined attention to the rituals, ceremonies interfered with the capacity of the state and its rulers to handle those pragmatic issues such as management of the finance and management of the military defense for the nation and economic development, tax policies, so on and so forth. Once again, it is this practice of dogmatic New Confucianism that defined the relationship in Korean society during the Yi Dynasty between the monarchs of Yi Dynasty and the main administrators coming from this particular social class, Yangban officials. Most Yangban officials were Confucian scholars. It was these Confucian scholars as public officials that insisted that before the monarch did anything else that were practical for the management of the state, they must be doing the right thing in terms of the practice of rituals and ceremonies. Because of that, scholars are considering Korea as the new Confucian state, but a more dogmatic Confucian state during the time of the Yi or Choson dynasty. It was also during the Yi or Choson dynasty, especially towards the end of the Yi and Choson dynasty, that Korean society involved in such a way that one particular sector of the population, the Korean women, was losing the kind of economic autonomy, independence that the Korean women had enjoyed prior to the Yi dynasty. Confucian chastity, an idea and a practice, came to influence the social status of Korean women. They lost the right to inherit the family legacies and properties, and the family legacies and properties by this time could only be passed to the male descendants of the older generation. Remarriage of a widow was also a taboo that shouldn't be violated, and Korean women were required to practice that kind of chastity as described by the scholars of early Chinese history in their books about the social status of Chinese women, such as the book entitled The Death of Woman One, written by Jonathan Spence. The Korean women also began to retreat from active participation in production, agricultural activities, and commercial activities. They began to be confined to the family compound. According to some scholars, to kill the time and to gain an opportunity to know what was happening outside the compound of the family during the Yi Dynasty, Korean women got involved in this kind of sports or pastime, as showed in this picture. Two women jump on the board to get higher and higher, so they could be able to see what was happening outside this family compound. And this kind of ancient pastime for women led to a modern sports activity for which women both in North and South Korea are famous for participating. The swing into the air, a modern sport for Korean women that might be related to the ancient pastime activity, which was the result of the women's desire to kind of physically break this confinement and get a sense of what was happening outside of the family compound. Once again, just like the women in Chinese society, a Confucian society, the women in a Korean society, another new Confucian society, came to be subjected to the Confucian chastity that led to the decline of economic and social independence of Korean women during the Yi or Choson dynasty. That is another dramatic cultural development occurred to Korea during the Yi dynasty.